Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Factional Fight Update from my car. As you can see, I'm driving home on my way home from work, as I do every day, and I thought I'd turn on the video and shoot off some ideas that are bouncing around in my head. So this weekend we were able to keep up with our schedule of recording every Friday. We've done 3 weeks in a row now, Brian and I, on this new adventure. This new adventure where we shed all our gear and we got randomly teleported off into a random place and release on the release server. I've been getting a lot of questions about how that all happened, what transpired to make us go and do such a thing, so I thought I'd answer that first. This idea of starting from scratch sort of came a long time ago. I would say we came up with this idea for the show maybe 2 or 3 years ago at least. The issue was, at the time, it didn't seem right at the time because we were still working on the Labyrinth. We hadn't released the Labyrinth, and so it was a matter of, like, you know, there was a few times during the construction of the Labyrinth that we were really close to just never finishing it. And it just took us going back to that project over the years that we were working on it and just getting it done. But like in the midst of building that Labyrinth, we must have taken 3 breaks from the game. I spent a year building Linton, and you know, the reason why the Labyrinth took so long is for the same reason why we take breaks all the time. It's just grinding away at the same task just gets to the point where it gets on our nerves and we need to break from it. And luckily, Worm is the type of game where we tend to come back to that game every single time, and we come back with a vengeance usually. So this time's no different. That idea of shedding all our gear and starting again as you know, new-ish players just sort of resurface at this point where we're trying to figure out what are we going to do next. Like, what is there to do next? And the options really were to continue working on the deed that we were at, or do something completely different. And we always take the different route, you know, always take the route of let's do something completely off the rails. And so to that end, we literally gave up everything that we own. Well, we didn't give it up. It's still sort of sitting on a deed, which we now consider to be our alt deed, right? Like it's a deed that's held by our alts, and all of the stuff is like secured there. And I've checked in on that deed a few times now, because I got some horses going, and you know, like, just the yeah, there's still stuff going on in that deed. I got a bunch of tunes there, but most of my time is now spent on this new adventure. We originally had thought of just sailing out and you know, getting to a random place on a random server by sailing, but recently, over this past Christmas, like just a couple months ago, we were given these magical lamps. These magical lamps that would grant us 3 wishes, and we decided to use one of our wishes to get a game master to teleport us to a random location. So we called on Retro, and Retro came on over on the first episode, and he whisked us away to a random spot on Release. And we chose Release because we kind of wanted remote, and Release kind of felt remote to us, at least in our eyes. And we wanted a server that we would know that we could get some land on, like near water. It didn't have to be on water, but near water. We wanted some land that was somewhat fresh. I mean, in the end, we ended up settling on something that had a big dirt wall. But since then, we spent a lot of time digging that dirt wall down. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the end of what you guys saw, because I've been playing for so much now. That deed is like completely transformed. I'm trying to remember where we ended the last time, but I think we had started the digging of the dirt wall. Oh, man. It has only been a few days, and I can't even remember what we were doing on the episode. But since then, we've just been digging away. We have gotten a couple guys who have been watching our show and big fans, and they said that because of this adventure, they decided to come back to the game, and they kind of head over to where we were located and asked if they could help out with any. So we got them digging away with us. They have their own stuff going on too. They're starting up again from scratch pretty much. They haven't been playing nearly as long as us. They said that they took a 5-year-long break. So, you know, after 5 years, they're pretty much trying to relearn the game. They also decided to drop all their gear and start from like the scratch, and they successfully did that. Got themselves over to where we were, and they've been pretty active. So they'll make some nice neighbors. We also found out that we settled right next door to a very active, very long, long-term player. Been playing the game longer than we have, and so yeah, like the area is just a nice bustling area. The neighborhood is very good. We've met a bunch of people in the area and talked to them, and very friendly. So we've been, you know, it's just been such a good time. And I can't wait to show you what we've done so far. Like it's not all that much, but it's just like we're just so proud of it, and there's so many things that have to go into building up from scratch again, because, like, you know, simple things like we don't have a boat, so we got to a point where we kind of needed to. We were digging and we got to the water, and we needed to dig it just a little bit more to uncover the rock, because we wanted to do a little bit of surface mining, but of course the water was too deep, so we couldn't dig down. So we're like, okay, how do we dig this? We need a dredge. Okay, so once we have the dredge, we still need a boat. Okay, so now we got to make a boat to make a dredge in order to get this dirt to go down maybe 3 or 4 tiles or 3 or 4 slope or whatever, just so that we can uncover the rock, so that we can surface mine. It's like craziness. So that's where we're at on that one, building a boat. I'm also really looking for how the layout of the place is going to be. I really want a house so I can get my setup going, where I have my, you know, smith, my forge, and all the storage, and I also want to get into dye making. So I want to figure out the optimal way of setting up a dye making station, and then work on getting, you know, figuring out where a good step would be found. Like a step is where I would be able to find a lot of woad, and I definitely know where there's a whole bunch of mobs that I can kill for cochineal. There's like a desert just nearby with a ton of scorpions, but in order to get to that point, I'm gonna have to get myself a nice good set of armor, and the one thing that I kind of not sure what we're gonna do about is that I really want to get a life transfer weapon again, or an essence drain weapon, and I'm not sure if this is something that we're going to be willing to cheat on, or whether or not we can scrounge up the stuff required to sell, or maybe even just get some coins and buy ourselves a brand new set of life transfer or essence drain weapons, because I feel like that's going to be sort of essential in order for us to go, you know, hunting. It's either that, or we're going to be spending a lot of time with cotton and healing our wounds that way. So we'll have to discuss like what we're willing to bend on this adventure. You know, it's, all the time I keep thinking about all those tools that are just sitting at the old deed. In fact, when I switched when the new priest update came in, I spent a bunch of time casting some essence drain. So I had all these essence drain weapons because I wanted to sort of test that out, but I never really got a chance to do that before we got whisked away. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of essence drain weapons sitting at the deed, just waiting to be used, and we'll have to figure out whether or not we can dip into that for some critical items like this, or whether or not we want to sort of like work the economy and try to figure out how to make some money in order to fund these types of weapons. We'll talk about it together, and we'll let you guys know what we decided. So yeah, like I feel like right now I'm in a real hardcore worm phase, and those come and go, you know, like where I get on and I dig for like 4 hours and I just have a blast doing that, and then, you know, I get on the next time and it's like another digging session and just like having so much fun getting the land just right. Yeah, so the terraforming is going well. It's still going. I really want to make it look as natural as possible, and that's something that's going to be a challenge. So I've sort of set myself to this challenge in the past, and it's never quite worked out exactly how I wanted it. It never works out to be exactly like nature, you know? Like you'll look at it and go, yeah, somebody made that. Somebody made that. It looks like somebody made that. So this time I'm trying my best, and I want to see if I can get it to like all the slopes to be gentle and rounded and nice looking. And of course there's going to be some flattish areas where the buildings are, and we're going to put ramps. It seems like this land is very sloped, right? It starts out pretty flat and then it slopes really deeply, like the rock underneath has like this big hill. So it looks like we're going to have to put some like little platforms, like different levels on the platforms, and put ramps between them, which is something that Brian's wanted. I'm a little bit wary of that situation because I've sort of done that before and it didn't work out the way I wanted it, and that was at Winter's Night, where my initial envisionment was a whole bunch of different platforms and then just ramps between them. This was before bridges came out, by the way, so all the ramps were dirt ramps. And it just didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to. It looked very blocky. It didn't have a natural feel. So I hope that whatever we end up doing here, we space things out a lot more. Okay, we try not to, I think the key is to try not to squash a whole bunch of stuff into a little area. Space things out, put a lot of tiles of nothing between things so that we can create those rounded slopes and yeah, those sorts of things. So looking forward to that, looking forward to streaming again and showing you guys exactly what it looks like. And what's great is that these things are all going to get put on, all the videos are going to get put on YouTube, so it's again another chronological repository of one of our adventures that, you know, we look back fondly of all the videos that we made, and I find myself sometimes just like turning on one of those videos and checking out what Autumn Twilight looked like before the castle went up, for example, to remind myself of the insanity that was the surface mining. Yeah, so yeah, there's that. I don't know, aside from that, I don't really have much else to talk about here. I've been watching a bunch of other people streaming recently because I've had some time off, and you know, just gotta, you know, I really am enjoying the content that's being released about Worm Online. I really hope that stuff is being sort of well received. I know Fabricant, who is part of the Venn network, he's been working on the redesign of Celebration, and it's kind of funny to watch him build the starter deed there, because he comes up with really funny solutions to problems that I would never ever think of. Like, my mind goes to this solution and he's going like around and above and up and down all around these like crazy ideas to like solve problems that to me would be far easier to be solved in a more straightforward way. However, to each his own, and it sort of opens my eyes to the different sort of ways you can tackle problems in this game. It is a true sandbox in that way, that you can come up with really creative ideas that will you know, help solve problems. So yeah, I can't wait to see more of that. He did claim that he's going to be streaming every day until the tap dance starter deed is complete. But by the sounds of it, he was getting a little bit annoyed with the way things are going. So I don't know if he's going to be able to keep that up. But hopefully he does, because it was very entertaining, and I can't wait to see more of that. Let's see, who else was I seeing? Kimmy and Pink. She came back to Worm Online after a break, which was awesome to see. She was playing Farming Simulator for a while, and I tried to watch a few of those streams. Kimmy, if you're watching this and you were saying how you haven't seen me around in the chat, it's just that I'll hop in, I'll see that you're playing Farming Simulator, I'll watch for a little bit, but I gotta admit, I just can't get into that game. I don't know, there's something about it. When you're in Worm though, like, I can watch that for a while. I can watch Worm, I can watch you play Worm, so yeah. So that's awesome. What else? Yeah, anyway, I should let you guys know that we're on plan for streaming this week. We've done a whole bunch of stuff that I'm sure Brian is excited to show you, and so we'll probably be streaming on Friday again. Friday is working for me. Friday seems to be working for Brian, at least for now. And one thing that I'm noticing, which is kind of interesting from a streamer's perspective, that there was a Sunday that we just sort of like whipped together a show. We didn't really announce it. I was saying that we're going to go on Friday, but we ended up not being able to go on Friday. So I mentioned it in this show that we were going to stream on Friday, but we didn't end up. And then last minute, Brian's like, hey, do you think we can stream on Sunday? And I'm like, okay. So we streamed on Sunday. We just turned on the stream. I announced everything, and we had like a huge turnout, like a larger than normal viewership on Sunday evening, which to me, Sunday evening is an evening where everybody has to go to bed relatively early in order to make it to work the next day. And then we scheduled a stream on Friday. We announced early that it was going to be Friday. We, got on Friday, and the viewership count was quite a bit lower than expected. So I'm wondering if it's like, is Friday just not a good day for people to watch streams? Like, is that the thing? Or like Sunday just seems like a better day to, I don't even know. We'll play it by ear, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe it's a matter of just making sure that people know that we're streaming on Friday, and getting that regular schedule down. Like, really, I feel like getting a regular schedule down is important for a stream. It's just so hard. It's so hard when, we got two people to schedule between, and we got our lives and busyness. And video games are something that we try to put a priority on because it's something that we enjoy. It's like our release. It's our it's our vice. Video games. So we'll try to get that schedule down, and maybe the viewership will go up because of just having a regular schedule. I don't know. That's just my thought. As far as streaming other games, I'm really interested in streaming other games. I totally am. Factorio was one that I mentioned in the last update, and I think it was Bloody Drongo mentioned that he'd be down for Factorio. I know I'd be down for Factorio because that game is just phenomenal. There's something about that game that can just eat away the day. So if you're interested in a really, really immersive, I don't even want to call it immersive. It's like intricate, complex, yet similar in the sense that solving problems can be done in 100,000 different ways, and it's up to you to just come up with a way that works for that time being. And there are, ways of optimizing things, and it's just a big puzzle, and yet at the same time it has survival elements, it has crafting elements, it has automation elements and management, and just like all the good stuff that video games should have. I really would love to see more modern video games incorporate elements of these things that are found both in Worm Online and in Factorio. I think that those elements make the games just so much nicer. So if I ever get a chance, and it really will come down to, I need a moment to do it, I need a night that I'm free to do it, then I'll get around to streaming a Factorio episode, I think. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where we're at. And this Friday for sure, I am going to make sure that we get onto the stream. Now, speaking of schedule, now that I think about it, the following Friday, I am going away onto a vacation. So that Friday I will not be able to stream, and it is up in the air whether or not we'll be able to stream that weekend at all. I'll talk with Brian about it to see if we can come up with a plan, and we'll mention it on the show. But it might be that we might have to skip a week there. But for most of the time, from then on, my goal is to keep a regular schedule. So that's pretty much it. I think I'll end the video here because I'm just rambling about random stuff that's, again, going on in my head. And so until next time, until this Friday, I will see you then. And you guys keep on worming. Have a good one.